all, welcome to the workshop of Ollie. As Chinese New Year is coming up soon, it's the year of the ox, I will be making a Chinese New Year doll. Chinese New Year is one of my favorite holidays, and one of my favorite memories is watching lion dancers in the park and eating mooncakes. Because of this, I will be making a lion dancer doll. Let's get to the concept art. For this doll, I didn't want to give her the whole lion dancer costume, which would incorporate the head and the body, which is held up by multiple people. So instead, I just added the head and of course the classic lion dancer pants. I gave her a traditional Chinese shirt which has lucky symbols on it, which means prosperity. I love myself an across-the-waist bag with little snickets or whatever you call on there, so I gave her some hongbao/lacy on it, a coin, an orange, and firecrackers. I then just gave her a simple blue shoes which have a flat end, and also gave her a mini bracelet with little lanterns on it. For the doll's face, I did have a little trouble with it because I didn't know if I wanted to go with a traditional, like, older dynasty Chinese makeup look or if I just wanted to give her a nude look. But I decided to go with famous face makeup and hairstyles from the Tang Dynasty. So for her hair, I just gave her ponytails kind of similar to Princess Jasmine's hair, but just on a smaller scale, and of course ponytail-like. And then for her face, I just gave her some light blush, natural lips, and some red in the creases of her eyes. She also had some sort of forehead emblem that I noticed was very popular in the Tang Dynasty, so I added that as well just for a little subtle nod to ancient China. I will also be selling this doll on my Etsy shop, the Workshop of Ollie, so if you really like this concept art, or even the way that I made this doll, make sure to go check out my Etsy shop in the description below, and I will also put a link in the comments. Now that I've gone over how I planned this doll, let's get to how I made it. I started by rummaging through my stock drawer where I found a couple dolls to choose from. I also got a new table, so you don't have to see my gross one anymore. For these dolls, I chose Twyla, Aleene, Gigi Grant, Scare Screams, and Laguna Blue. I then did a process of elimination and ended up choosing Twyla and the body of Laguna. I began with the lion dancer head as it was very hard and complex to make. For the head, I decided to use a doll wig cap as the bare base. I then measured out the face to make sure how long the mouth should be to show the doll's head. To connect the doll head and the mouth, I decided to use a stretchy flap of fabric and some snaps. The snaps would connect to the bottom of the mouth and the top of the head, keeping room for the doll head and still having a strong stretchy base. To form the shape of the head, I decided to use clay and thermoplastic, which is just plastic that can be bendable by heat. I also wanted to keep the head as light as possible, so I decided to use my light air-dry clay and keeping the head hollow instead of filled with clay. But before I could do any of that, I must take off the doll's head. So I went to my sink, turned on the hot water, and put the doll heads under it to loosen it and take it off. I then grabbed some of my nail polish remover and removed the face. I do this by doing little swirls and keeping where the paint is as confined as possible so it doesn't spread all around the face. Once I wiped off the face, I did my usual hair cutting routine where I go strand by strand, or really layer by layer, and cut it off so I get the smallest cut/buzz cut as possible. Once I cut out all the hair, I had to take out the really nasty gook, which was more gross than usual. Now time for the actual mask. I began by making a wig cap, which is just fabric glued over the head, and then I marked out where the top of the mouth would go using cardboard and some pencil. This was just to help get the exact curve of the head. I also did this for the bottom mouth, but added tabs for the snaps. The wig cap was also a little off, so I also adjusted that. Off camera, I grabbed my thermoplastic and marked out the shape for the eyes and where the nostrils and top of the nose would go. I then grabbed my air dry clay and defined the main parts of the mask, like the eyes, what could technically be cheekbones, the nose, and a little bump on the head, which is just a decorative little thing. I noticed that the bottom of the eyes were not as defined or as bony-like as I wanted them to be, so I adjusted that, and then I also added the nostrils, which is a kind of weird feature on the Lion Dancer, but I think it looks much better with it. I then added some paper mache to fill in the eyes after trying to use a lot of clay which will just keep falling in. Now time to paint the patterns. I noticed that a lot of Lion Dancer head had little like flame patterns or little orange squigglies on it, so I added those on the bottom and the top. The fur did end up covering this, but I am glad that I put that detail into there just for practice and just a little snippet that I personally know is there. I then worked on the mouth, which actually had a pretty simple design compared to what I thought it was going to be, so that was a really easy thing for me to do. Also, sorry for such a bad camera angle. I'm getting better at it, I promise. I then added the details on the nose, which is just more red squiggly patterns and actually a lot more gold, which was really fun to use. I then gave some sort of black spiral pattern on the eye and used hot glue to make the little pupil. The pupil was just red, and then I was finally able to add the last designs, which is just more orange squiggly patterns on the top bump of the head that also has a gold and black background. You may be wondering, why aren't you putting any pattern on the back of the head? Most of it's actually going to be covered by fur, mostly yellow, so I decided just to add a yellow background to it. Now time to add the connecting flaps. For this, I just used this bright orange fabric, which was stretchy, that would actually camouflage in with the yarn I was going to use, and then I just sewed on some snaps. I then put it on the head, measured out where it was going to go, and added the snaps. Now for the fur. I began by getting orange yarn and ironing it out to make sure it was flat and not so fluffy. I then hot glued it on and grabbed some giant yellow pipe cleaner and connected that on as the fur of the mouth. It kind of actually looks like a mustache now that I look at it. I then grabbed the rest of it, added on the border of the eye, and then added some orange under it. The orange was actually quite big and too fat for the eye, so I had to thin it down to what would be a regular pipe cleaner size and hot glued that on the bottom. I then added a couple little tweaks here and there for just a finished product, and here's what it looks like! Oh my god, this girl is serving. I'm so happy to see it. Done. This is one of my most major little doll head mask things, so I'm really glad that it turned out really well, and I hope you liked it too. Now time for the face-up. I began by adding a white layer of the face to make painting easier and grabbed some watered down paint to paint the skin color and the top of the head, which was going to be brown. I also painted most of the body too, since it would be showing within the arms and of course the little ankles. To make sure that the paint on the head didn't chip off, I grabbed some watered down Elmer's glue, which actually works pretty well, and then just coated that with it. I then masked up the face by getting some fabric, some scrap one, and some needles. I then began my normal doll rerouting routine, which is just getting a doll hole poker little tool and just poking it in what I already made the hole, since my tool is pretty weak and I don't want to buy another one. I then began to use the extra brown hair that I got from my Katara doll, which I would go check out on my Etsy shop in the description below, and just put that in. The hair actually came in a really big braid from Amazon, which I'll link below, and I thought I would have enough for like 3 doll heads, but I ended up only having enough for 1.5 doll heads, which kind of sucked, but I was able to use my Devil doll's hair to replace it on the top, so it almost has a black on top and a brown on bottom hairstyle. After letting it dry, I went outside and sprayed the doll. I then wrapped up the hair and sprayed it with MSC/Mr. Super Clear outside. Make sure you have the right temperature or else it will ruin your face up. I then grabbed my watercolor pencils, tested it out on the side of the face, and marked out the basic shape of the eyes. I also wanted the doll to be smiling, so I curved up the ends of her lips to do that. Once it looked good to me, I began to paint it in with a mix of like a maroon and dark brown and black to fill in the eyes. Like usual, the eyelashes were very hard for me to draw, as I usually make them either very chunky or in some weird wavy long shape. But this time I did okay, but it was still a little chunky and clumped together, so hopefully I can do better next time. I then added the eye makeup, which was just made out of Mungyo soft pastels, to fill in the eyeshadow, the lips, and the little head emblem, and then I grabbed some paint to just really define the center part of that. I then added the finishing touches, like fixing up the eye makeup, the irises, the eye shine, and some blush. I was then able to gloss up the face, and here's what it looks like! As you can see, I didn't make her makeup as exaggerated as it looked in the concept art. I think it was just because it's white paper, but I'm really proud of how it looked like. So now we can take out the hair wrap and see how it looks with the hair. Now time for the outfit. I began by making the shirt, which was actually made out of a really frayable fabric, and I was not used to working with it, so it was a little time consuming, but I was able to manage and make a pretty nice shirt. I was also surprised to see that most of the fabric was able to handle my sewing machine, which was surprising because most of my doll clothes does get just sucked up by the sewing machine, so that was great. I then added her sleeves, which are just made by sewing the sleeves up first, stuffing it in the clothes, and then just sewing the ends of the sleeve hole and the actual sleeve together. I then added snaps on the shirt because I cannot do a pullover shirt for dear life. And then I painted on the Chinese lucky symbols, which is food, which means prosperity. I did have to do a slightly simplified version of it, as the food symbol does have very small intricate details that I cannot do on a doll scale. So that kind of sucked, but that's what I had to do. I then made the pants, which is actually quite simple to make, but getting the fabric is really hard as I don't have any extra yellow clothes, and neither did my family, but luckily my mom was able to find a yellow stretchy fabric. For the tinsel-like little glitter on the traditional lion dancer pants, I just grabbed a tinsel pipe cleaner and just hot glued it on the pants because I got a little lazy here, but luckily it connected on and stayed there. I then painted the shoes, which just made out of paper mache, and if you'd like more information about that, I would go check out Watercolor's tutorials, which I will link below. I then added all the little details for the doll. One of these was adding a fake neckline on the doll, which was just getting some string, gluing it onto the top, and painting it black. I then began to make the miniature items that go over the crossover belt, like the firecrackers, the orange, and the coins. To attach the firecrackers on, I used the same iron down yarn technique, and then I attached a firecracker to each one. To make it look bundled, I tied the end and then continued to put one on each 3 strings. I looked a little blank within the middle, so I did glue on extra ones there too. I then made the hongbao/lacy out of cardstock, and then I dipped the crossover bag string in water diluted with paint. I let that sit for a couple hours. I then did the hair, which actually was kind of hard to make, but I was able to get the hair to stick. And then I connected the head, the outfit, and added all the accessories. Now time for the final reveal. Meet Huang Guiying. After some research, I learned that this means a happy and brave hero. I imagine this doll to be very happy, joyful, and kid-like, but also has some brave elements, almost like child heroes in movies. I was really happy that this project worked out, as I was really scared and kind of nervous that the lion head was not going to work, as it was one of my most complex projects, and I was really happy that it did. I hope you enjoyed the making of this doll as much as I did, and if you'd like to go check this out or other dolls like it, make sure to go look at my Etsy shop in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. 谢谢 and 新年快乐!